Coffee with Gaz with Shawn Fitzgerald.
Thank you for having me, Gaz.
Well, this is the cool thing about this, and I always want to talk about it. We met through social media.
Yep.
We're meeting for the first time in person, and it's just like, this is why we do this. And so I always want to be a proponent of that. Like, when we actually connect and people use this forum the right way, this is what happens.
Yeah, and it's I feel like within the insurance industry, you're always trying to find people that are like-minded, you know, or people that are, for me, I try to look for people that are smarter than me in the insurance industry. You know?
Not me. But I appreciate that.
No, and that's why I reached out. Like I said, I like to be around people that are like-minded. And I think I saw some of your stuff on Instagram. And you guys, I think it was at the time, you guys kind of rebranded some of your stuff. And I just started following your content and some of the stuff Fernie put out and Doug and you. And, you know, it's so funny. I came here today and I felt like I knew most of you guys. It's so crazy what we were talking about before.
That's awesome. That's exactly why we do it.
Yeah.
You know, and we believe in it. And I love being able to connect with people. You know, we've actually done business together. So you're up in New York.
Yep.
Then right, and I wanted to get into something specifically, and we'll get into insurance, even though we talk about it all the time. But I want to get into insurance specifically because when we connected, you know, you went into this journey now of starting a scratch agency. Yeah. Which yes and no, my story's a little bit different, but being in that position, I wanted to ask you, like, what made you go that route?
Yeah, I mean, I can't pinpoint it to one thing, but just to give a little bit of a backstory, like I've kind of always been a little bit entrepreneurial. So like when I was 11 or 12 and it was snowing outside and my friends were playing football, like I would knock on doors and shovel driveways. And when I got towards the end of high school, I started a pool company. So I've always been trying to like go out and get mine, you know?
Right.
And when I first got introduced to the world of insurance, one thing I really liked about it was you get what you put into it, right? Whether you're a producer or an owner, the harder you work and the more you focus and double down on what you want, you know, you can achieve it and you get paid for what you put in, you know? So it just got to the point where I was a producer for 10 years and, you know, the residual income was great, but it got to the point where I was like, you know, I want equity in what I'm doing, you know? And I would love to open my own business. And that's like the ultimate, you get what you put into it, right? So I think that's what attracted me to it. And I sat on that idea for probably longer than I should have.
Like looking back at it now, right?
Yeah. Like I was actually nervous to even bring it up because I was like, is this like an emotional thing? Like I sat on it for probably, no joke, probably like a year and a half, almost 2 years. And then I just decided like, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it. And you can't put a price on regret. So I went from, you know, making a nice income to literally zero.
And you did it during it's been about a year and a half, right? So you were kind of
February 2020.
So you broke
right
in
before the shutdown.
Right before the shutdown, which is, so talk about going through challenges, right? That's another added curveball besides, because how would you handle that? And I want to ask you, like, you obviously going from scratch, rebuilding your book, you couldn't see anybody in person.
No.
How would you prospect at that? Like, how'd you pivot?
Yeah, so it was a lot of networking, right? Talking to other people within the industry, even just like listening to some of the stuff that you guys do that you know, like Bradley Flowers was doing with like you know, virtual meetings and stuff like that. And then I'm a part of Big Eye of New York too, and they do a lot of like Zoom calls and whatnot. And they told me some of the other agents were, you know, meeting with people, you know, through Zoom and whatnot. So I just started trying to shift that model, but I think that's the biggest thing with COVID. Like everyone kind of had to adapt to what was going on, right? So it was either I do nothing and just let it crush me, or I try to figure out what's going on. Yeah,
adapt or die, and really in anything. And that's where I think that entrepreneurial mindset kind of says that you don't really take no for an answer. It's just what's next, right? Don't dwell on it, but move on. Yeah,
and I'll never forget this conversation I had. So one of my target markets was restaurants and bars, right? And as you can imagine in New York, so right before the shutdown, I sat down with a successful business owner in Manhattan. He owned a few restaurants in Manhattan. He had a few overseas. And at that meeting, he was like, Shawn, if you can make it through this pandemic, you know, your first year in business, he's like, you'll make it through anything.
Oh, 100%.
And then literally as I was walking out the door, he says, oh yeah, one more thing. He's like, don't quit. And I was like, you know, I left that meeting. I was like, wow. All right.
I mean, year one going into it, that's going to be the hardest. And even if from a startup or even if you got into the business as a producer, that first year, it's just getting your feet wet, finding your routine, even the product knowledge. But now you got the other challenges. You survive that first year, you got a chance, right?
Yeah.
But then plus COVID,
Yeah.
I mean, that must have been, you know, I'm trying to empathize, and it's cool that we're talking now because you were able to take that punch and keep going.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And networking is what saved me, honestly. Like you said, you can't see businesses in person, so I would network a lot, get referrals from people within, you know, doing a lot of home and auto insurance. You know, I'm used to doing a little bit more commercial.
But you take what you get, man, right?
Take what you can get.
The phone rings, you got to take the call.
But listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like everything was great. The first few weeks was scary. You know, that first month was scary.
So besides COVID, talk about starting the scratch agency. What do you think, besides COVID, what was your biggest challenge as far as from was it the rebranding side of it? Was it?
Yeah, no. So honestly, the branding, I didn't put too much. I probably should put more focus on it, but I was more focused on like, I need to get direct carriers. Like, you know, that was my main thing. You know how it is being independent. Like if you don't have some of the major players, you know, you're basically like a captive. So I wrote down my couple of target markets that I had. And I figured, okay, these, you know, 2 carriers for this specific target market are the best. And what we were talking about before this is, you know, a lot of these carriers have minimum premiums that they want you to hit every year.
It's the commitments. It's
Exactly.
a catch-22, right? They want X, but you're just starting. What you need is you need a chance.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
An opportunity.
You need a chance, and I didn't want to bite off more than I can chew, so I picked 2 or 3. And like back to adapting, you know, I kind of had to adapt to what their guidelines were, and I just hammered away at those 2 or 3 things. And thank God, you know, some of those companies gave me a chance. Some didn't. I remember who they are.
Yeah. Come take business from them. Right?
Yeah, right.
You know, I go back and this is something I would give it to take a step back from you starting the startup. Like my advice would be to even producers, and depending on your setup, is I think they underestimate the value of building a relationship with the marketing reps. I mean, here I'm trying to encourage everybody involved, the producers, like to be in the meetings. I remember early on, I made that mistake.
It's huge.
I didn't really, you know, again, you're in the flow, you're in the trenches, you're dealing it. Marketing reps are coming in. You have to develop that relationship. Number one, it helps you if you ever go on your own.
Yeah.
And then also they're an extension of the sales. They're the ones that can help push underwriters.
Yep.
Right.
And not that I want your producers to go anywhere. But I think what helped me a lot is at my previous agency, I met with every single marketing rep that came in.
I mean,
and I had those relationships. Even though I was starting from zero, I still had those relationships. So I'd call, hey, you know?
That no doubt gave you a leg up. Right?
100%. If they didn't know who I was, they would have been like, you know.
I mean, even if you don't want to have, I mean, your own thing, but just being able to use them, they're an extension of the sales process.
100%.
I mean, I always say underwriters find reasons not to write a certain risk, but then the marketing people find ways to kind of get it done.
Yeah, some of them.
Some of them.
Some
my
of them
favorites. Your favorites too. Your favorites too.
Yep.
And you know who you are if you're listening.
They get creative.
But I think that's and it's such an under valued mindset as far as that relationship. So I'd encourage, and I'm glad you did that. But that goes to show you, look where you're at now.
Yeah, thank you. And it honestly blows my mind. Like I'm sure you have some carriers where the reps don't really come around. You don't hear from them. You know?
There's some
like, and I feel like I actually sometimes want to give business. Like if you have a really good relationship with a marketing rep, like I kind of, you know, it motivates me a little bit more to want to give them business. You know?
They're making commission or they're getting bonus just like we are.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, and they're the ones that go out and really stick their neck out for you. So I think, you know, marketing reps, that's a really you really got to focus on developing those relationships.
Yeah.
Number 2, besides markets, how's that mindset changing now? Like growing your agency, how are you looking at hiring, if you're looking to hire any sort of producers?
Yeah. So right now, I think I might have jumped the gun a little bit. Like I was thinking of hiring a producer, but I was like, you know what, let me slow down for a second, you know? So right now I'm really trying to focus on growth, building relationships, building, you know, networks within the local community. So I'm trying to get really, like I'm in a networking group on a Wednesday morning, one on Thursday morning, part of Big I. I'm part of a few different things, you know, the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm trying to really, and now a lot of these things are through Zoom, right? So it actually makes things a little bit easier. Like now, I mean, you're just hopping on the computer. It's not like I have to drive
the commute, right?
Yeah. So it saves me all that time. But that's really what I'm focusing on now, is building those relationships. And I'm focusing a lot on processes and procedures. So when that producer does come on, you know, they have a good roadmap. Like if I hired someone right now, they might just get kind of thrown into the fire, and I can help guide them a little bit, but I want a solid plan written out for them. You know what I mean?
Set them up for future success.
Exactly. And listen, that's kind of some of the trouble I had in the beginning. So I would hate to put that on someone else. You know what I mean?
No, I'm the same way. You know, one thing that I guess the biggest lesson I learned getting into sales and being on a commission only type basis is that sometimes the assumption is because you don't have a schedule, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I would argue and I would tell you that you need to be even more organized as far as when you don't have a schedule to set yourself up for success. Like this business draws you in so many different ways.
Yeah.
You could try to be on task, but you know how it is. This is a service industry. Phone calls get you kind of shifted.
Yeah.
So I've learned actually from my nephew. He's, you know, and he's a lot younger than I am. He came in with that he's taught me a lot about organization. And you're right. So we're setting up, I'm trying to get better at setting up certain times we knock out calls in the morning from a marketing standpoint, right? How do you follow up on the renewals? How do you maintain the relationship? How do you keep those touches? Organization is the biggest asset no matter what you're doing as far as not having a schedule as a producer.
It's so true. It's so true. We call it like green time and red time. Like green time, it should be like your money making tasks, you know, the phone calls and prospecting.
I like that.
And then the red time is, you know, follow-ups, changes, you know, delegating stuff
What's
out.
yellow?
I don't got an answer for that. We'll make some up for that.
Yeah, we'll make something up for that later. I wasn't ready for that. I'll think about that next time. No, and you see yourself, you know, your next move, like as far as the relationship building, being a scratch agency. The third thing, have you looked to the type of employees you want to kind of hire?
Yeah. I haven't looked a ton into it, but obviously I want someone that's hardworking and motivated.
But
right?
I think the question always becomes, as a business owner, you're like, I want someone like me.
Yeah,
and that becomes kind of you gotta check yourself a little bit.
Well,
because
I almost said that too, and I was like, let me pull back that.
I was hoping you would say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want this to sound like cocky. I think as like a business owner, like you have to be like a little out there. You know what I mean? You have to be like a little.
I think too. I mean, you're taking a risk. You're kind of on an island on yourself. Right?
Yeah.
So
like people thought I was crazy when I left where I was building 10 years of residuals to zero. The people were like, "What's wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? You can't get any direct appointments. Like, you're nuts." So I don't expect anyone to be like me, but I definitely want to build a culture of just good people who want to do the right thing,
right?
Who want to succeed, you know, and who want to work hard, and that are similar to me in the fact that they want to, what they put into it, they're going to get out of it.
It's I think the key would be looking for people that are like-minded, not like you, but like-minded. Like-minded is the key.
That's it.
And then we're all getting, I mean, an example would, you know, my two business partners, like we're all like-minded. We could do things a little bit different, but we all have the same goals, the same ideas, the same values. How we're going to, we might have articulate different ways to get there, but we all have the same end goal as well.
100%. And I think there's definitely something to do. There's something to that, you know, having multiple partners. So that's just something I always keep in the back of my mind.
It is. I could tell you it's kind of, and there's not the most political way of saying it, but having someone with skin in the game like you have a daily therapy session.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Like it's just there. Like you bounce ideas off each other. And I can tell you now, it's been a really key to our success, having each other kind of be a springboard for ideas.
Yeah. I
mean, look, I'm not always right. Neither we've been. And growing, we kind of have to embrace those failures.
Yeah.
The things we did wrong. That's why I'm asking. You know, you're going to this new venture. I love hearing about it because, to be honest with you, I like to hear what you did wrong because that's how I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from you as well. Everyone says what they did right. The truth is, I'm more interested in what you did wrong. Your failures is what's the biggest teacher.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as a producer, again, I was a producer for 10 years, so I had so many failures, like just stupid stuff. Like I remember, like even going on I'll never forget, like my first appointment I ever went on. I would go on it, and it was an auto repair shop, and the guy was like, you know, he could tell I was 21 at the time, and he could tell I was young. He's like, how much coverage do you think I need? And I was like, well, $1 million? I don't know. Like I kind of just, you know, I just kind of like throw a number out there. So you take your punches and your bruises and you learn from them. As far as being a business owner, I think one of the things I underestimated the most was the responsibility that comes along with it, right?
Yeah.
Like as a producer, you don't have to really worry about the tech side of things or the phones going down or, you know, other issues going on. But when you become a business owner, everything's your fault, you know?
Yeah, the buck stops with you. Speaking of that, that's one thing I do miss, right? Being in essence, a producer, you worry about yourself.
Yep.
Not that you don't worry about your coworkers and your teammates, but you're a little more in control of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then now as a business owner, there's like other variables that you got to worry about, which sometimes takes away from what I love about this business was the selling part and going on those meetings.
Yeah.
Like your first meeting, that feeling. Ugh. I could say though, my first sales call was a cold call. Mm-hmm. I never forget. It was like, I don't know. I don't know what I was doing, right? Just like, what do I do? Who do I call? I think I was like 24 years old, 23 years old. And I remember I got the phone book, the agency at the time, they're about a phone book. Hey, start calling. It was AAA awnings because you start with the alphabet.
Yeah.
And he's sitting next to me and I'm calling. And I remember I was so nervous and so bad on the phone that the guy thought I wanted to buy an awning. So think about how bad of a salesperson I was, that I was just, he's like, oh, so okay, get to the point. So you want to buy an awning? Oh, hold on, sir, I'll call you back. And then from then, I just remember by that experience, those are like little examples of getting uncomfortable and failing that kind of made you learn a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. I think, I don't mean to cut you off too, but like a big misconception with insurance too, I think is like, people think you have to be great at sales. Like as long as you're, like I was atrocious at talking to people, being on the phone, but as long as you can like weather the storm in the beginning, like
hold the line. For next, hold the line is Fernando's favorite.
Yeah, it's going to transform you into whoever you want to be.
Well, I mean, and also back about insurance and sales. I mean, that's another thing. We have X states that, in essence, on the P&C side and then on the benefit side as well, that gives us a timeline. Yeah. Right. So that's why I even like insurance even more. Like it's not like we're perfect timing, right? As long as we stay visible enough, you're able to kind of X states are our sales basically line. That's a timeline. That's it. Once your policy renew, I'll call you back in a month, 2 months.
Yeah, and as a producer, I remember a really successful nationwide producer told me this in the beginning, and he told me, he's like, just save every X date. So make sure you save in every X date. And then, over the years, those X dates build up. It could be February and all of a sudden you have 50 X dates you can call on, you know what I mean?
No, then that's part of the organization side of it. Yeah, tracking 100%. That becomes that additional pipeline.
100%. Yeah, and attention to detail, like you said, organization attention to detail is huge.
So you do this thing on LinkedIn called the Morning Minute. Which
you like that?
Yeah, I like it. Dude, I appreciate that, man. Look, you're starting your own agency, right? You're doing a lot of things on your own, and you're still carving out time. Because I guess you're looking at it, you believe in this attention type platform, right?
I'm glad you brought this up. So now I got some failures I can talk about. So the insurance corner, right? I try to do a little podcast thing, talk to you, talk to, some of the other insurance guys. And I was like, I think you have to experiment and see what works 100%. For you, what you like to do, right? So the Morning Minute was just one of those things. I stumbled upon it. And I was like, let me just give this a shot. Insurance is boring. Let me just try to do a quick minute video with a nice background. I'm working out anyway. I can do it on my way home or whatever. And like just people would message me out of the blue, like, oh my God, it wouldn't even necessarily be insurance. Well, that sun behind you is beautiful, but it just gets you out there. And when people think insurance, they might think Shawn, you know what I mean?
But I respect you a lot. That's why
Thank you.
That's a big reason why we connected, because I see you doing it. And I know this isn't easy to put yourself out there, right? You got to keep practicing. So whenever you do 100%. It, you have my 100% support. Like I like it. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully I can stay consistent with it.
Yeah, it's just like that, man. It's a believing in it and being consistent, going from there.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to just continue connecting, man, and seeing you grow your agency in New York.
100%. Thank you. And thanks again for having me. I mean, I feel like I got to say this on camera, but when I walk through those doors, man, the atmosphere in here is amazing. And I know I told you off camera, but I was ready to work when I walked through those doors.
You should have your laptop, man. This is your house. But it's funny because I know we have a relationship, but you're gonna see the other side of the camera, right?
Yeah.
Like this. So that's pretty cool. I appreciate that.
Behind the scenes.
I mean, look, you can't do this, and I will give anybody any advice, right? If you're gonna do and get into social, which I think every business owner should. It's free marketing, right?
Yeah.
Just be yourself. Be authentic. You can't do this. You can't do this every day if you're not just being yourself.
Exactly. And just, don't care what anybody else thinks and you'll be fine.
Well, this is your house, man. You're welcome whenever you want. Appreciate you coming by.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
All right, Shawn.